It's just a blessing to have you,
Thank you.
Sheriff, on this podcast today. But we're going to talk about Jesus. We're going to talk about the fatherless epidemic in this country, talk about single moms, and just ask our sheriff today for some advice. But first, I know we've got a lot of people all over the country that are watching this today, and you're a celebrity, Sheriff. I mean, people know you all over the world. But I'm gonna just go over a few little things in my notes before we get started with some questions today. But the thing that I love about you most, and just from growing up as a kid around here, being around your boys, is you've always just been a man of God. And it's hard to find men today that just their identity is Christ. And so that is a blessing that is carried over into your career. I mean, we have seen thousands of people baptized in the jail system from what you have done. I don't see that happening in other parts of the country. I don't see men that are that bold. And so I'm just thankful for how that is impacting our jail system and those men that are coming to know Jesus, in the jail cell and trying to break the cycles and saying, man, I messed up, but I'm giving my life to God, and how that can affect families, and praise the Lord for that. Man, it's just been awesome. But then no other sheriff in the history of Polk County has served 6 or more terms. You're the first sheriff to ever do that. And I mean, that's a big deal. That's amazing. And to be in, I mean, I thank all those out there that serve in law enforcement to be able to be a sheriff for that long. And you probably get 30 minutes of sleep a night?
If on a good night.
On a good night. So, I mean, that speaks a lot, folks. I mean, that's he is in a battlefield every second, every minute, every hour of the day. And so thank you for serving, and I pray we get 6 more. Maybe, we'll get 6 more terms, right?
I'm going to try. I got to sleep to 3:00 this morning, so it was a banner night.
Wow. And then in 2020, you get a call from Donald Trump to be appointed, and I want to say this right, it was the Council of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention.
Right.
And I mean, what a cool job. I mean, that means a lot to us because that's all about the kids.
Right.
And you're investing in kids and the communities. And I mean, wow, how was that?
Well, let me tell you the political story. I received that appointment like 2 weeks before he left office.
Well, that was nice, right?
When the new administration came in, all the paperwork had disappeared.
Oh, wow.
So even though he made this appointment, it never manifested. New administration came in, and I'm sure that stuff just kind of went by the wayside. So I was looking forward to being on the council, but it didn't turn out that way. So that's okay. But I serve every day.
Yep.
It's an honor to be the sheriff. It's I consider it a humbling experience, and I like to serve Jesus. And I believe, because I've wanted to be in law enforcement, to be the sheriff since I was a little bitty guy. So I've always believed that this is my mission field. This is where God preordained me to be. So it's challenging, it's interesting, and I get to see a positive difference. We help people every day.
Yep. That's rewarding.
Sure.
Jeff and I see that a lot in ministry. That fills your tank when you see some change and you see impact in the community. Well, here's some fun stuff, just for some fun facts here.
Sure.
These are some famous quotes, and I love this one back in the day. It wasn't a good day that happened, but I know the media, you got to love media, right?
Sure.
And there's some great media out there, but some of them are a little crazy. Sometimes you just can't fix stupid. And we get some of those sometimes in the world today. But I remember this came out. Why 68 times, Sheriff? And you said, we ran out of bullets. I mean, come on, common sense, right?
That's right.
Well, that was really the quote that put me on the map. And I still hear that today. And that was, my goodness, 18, 19 years ago. But I talk common sense because you know what? Most people in this country have common sense.
Yeah.
And my goal is to communicate with people and the community and to report to my bosses here in Polk County. Yeah. So I don't play that politically correct stuff. Everybody throws the BS flag on that. They know that's not real. Yeah. So, that was the one that started it off.
Yeah. When COVID happened, I used to walk around and tell people that they'd ask me, Mr. Mark, you need to put your mask on. And I'm like, I have CS. I can't wear it. And they're like, oh, okay. CS stands for common sense.
Right.
So. But a couple more quotes here. I love this one. Did you hear what I said? I didn't stutter. Or do you have brains for grits? And this one I like a lot. Just chill out, drink a 7-Up, maybe eat a moon pie.
Quit murdering people.
Yeah, we need to hear that all the time. Quit murdering people. We've experienced that this week, which is sad. But just some fun stuff there to throw. There's a lot more. We could go on, but
that's awesome.
I'll let you have some questions.
I feel like you used the brains for grits a couple times when we were at your house hanging out, and I was with Graham, unfortunately. So that one's probably been ingrained in my head.
I'm glad he does. Maybe he doesn't remember all this.
You know, it really concerns me when I'm sitting here with two guys that are grown men and one with a gray beard.
Thanks.
And I'm the dad age, you know what I'm saying?
You even have hair on your head and I don't.
I was going to say, you've done it well. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you. I know when you're out at the ranch back in February, you got to kind of look at God's House of Clays that the Polk Sheriff Charities was able to put in. That has been such a cornerstone for us out at the ranch, at the retreats. There's some about a young man who comes out to the ranch who struggles to make eye contact because of just the story and the lack of confidence. And then we teach him how to not only shoot on the range where he's shooting through a scope, but then we take him over to God's House of Clays and he's able to bust a couple clays and a couple targets. I mean, the confidence level goes through the roof. So we appreciate it. And I know the Polk Sheriff Charities blesses hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of individuals, but also organizations in the community. So that's been huge for our ranch. I just want you to know that. We're grateful for that.
So our charity is very important to us, and the people from throughout the community and the state donate money. And then we look for charities and groups of people that are making a positive difference. And we try to brand what we do to help others. And it's like we buy instruments for clay shooting. Yep. We buy ranges, we buy kitchens, we do a lot of things. We raise so far this year probably about $350,000 or $400,000 to help in the community. But you know, God rewards what's right. Yes. And that's kind of where we are. And in addition to that charity, we have what we call Ruth Mart. There's a lady that works with us that takes care of all of our charities. And our charity stuff is really very, very, very cool. We have big warehouses. And of course, when they knock a pallet of something over and dent it up, they can no longer sell it at retail. These wonderful people say, look, here's the deal. You can't resell it. You've got to give it to charity, and you can never disclose who we are. If you do, we'll stop. We give away millions of dollars every year of items to those that are needy because of the wonderful communities and businesses across the United States that are represented in Florida.
Sweet.
So, you know, when you see what we are as a community and a state and a nation, people get to watching that evening news and think that's real America. That's not real America. Y'all are real America. The kids you help are real Americans. That's what's happening good every day. And we're able to be a small part of that. And it's a God thing to me.
I just want to tell you the individuals, I just give them a plug at the warehousing.
Yes.
For Christmas this year. We got 5 bikes for our followers. They were the most generous. They walked me through the warehouse. They showed me all the different items, what was available. I had already pre-ordered the bikes. They had them lined out with the helmets and everything. I mean, they were so gracious and so on the ball. And so I just give them a big plug. So I appreciate that very much. So,
and we're there for you. And we never know what we're going to get there because it's just whatever gets knocked over today. So anytime we can help help your charity or other charities, if you interact with people and go, gosh, oh my gosh, you know, we'd give anything to have any microwaves. We may have 25 of them over there. We can help them out. Whatever we can help with.
They are the gospel.
Yes,
they are the gospel. So just to pivot, we wanted to kind of move into fatherhood a little bit. At the ranch on February 20th, you shared a little bit about your father, and we know that your father had such a huge role in your life. What was one of the greatest, or what was the greatest story maybe that you can remember from growing up with your father?
Well, I think one of the greatest quotes that I remember, we were in a heated discussion at about 14 or 15 years old, and he looked at me and he said, son, my job's not to be your friend. My job's to be your father. And if I do the right job and raise you the right way, then we'll be best friends when you grow up. But you're still a child, and you're going to do it my way, and I'm going to keep you out of trouble. And no, you're not doing this, but you're going to do that. Well, he was 100% correct. When I grew up and I lost Dad when he was 88, he and I were best buddies. And there is nobody in the world like my daddy. So, but that's what real men do.
That's right.
He took me fishing. He took me hunting. He taught me how to work. Probably one of the greatest gifts past introduced me to Jesus Christ, which Mom and Dad both did. Well, I was raised in a Christian home. He taught me how to work.
Wow.
And that wasn't easy. I mean, work is a learned behavior.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he taught me how to work. Then he insisted that I work. He mandated that I work. And some days it was pretty rough going to me. It's like, why me? And when I grew up and I look back, I go, I had the perfect dad.
Man, that's awesome. I hope you're okay. I've already used that line with my boys a couple of times since February, and I'm just laughing as you're talking about working because my boys see us going into the season where the grass grows at the house, and so we just went from mowing the lawn every 3 weeks to now they see it's coming every 5 to 7, and every time I'll look at the grass and I'll say, "You guys know we got about 2 more days we got to mow," and they're just, "Oh, Dad, come on, can we mow it every 2 weeks?" I said, "Guys, it doesn't work that way.
You should be mowing your grass never again, Jeff.
You're right. I got a team now. Just have
You
my
got a team.
fourth, so I got a team. So we know stats and statistics tell us that about 90% of men that are incarcerated come from fatherless homes. Do you see that? So that's a nationwide statistic.
Also, to add to that too, just 90% that are in prison or the jail system come from fatherless homes, but also just in general in rural communities throughout the country, even Polk County, it's about 40% of kids don't have dad in the house.
Yep.
And big cities, your larger cities, it's almost up to 80% now, almost double that. And do you think we're seeing some of the same problems,
Oh, absolutely.
here? And then what do you think the solution is?
Well, first and foremost, a man that doesn't take care of his children is not a real man.
You're right.
And I don't have good things to say about that person, because when you create those beautiful young miracles of God, you have a ethical and a moral obligation to raise them the right way. And that's what we see over and over again, is that these kids don't have adult leadership, usually fathers in the home. Mothers, I give a huge amount of credit to the overwhelming majority of mothers in this nation. If it weren't for mothers, I don't know where we would be. But when a mother gets a child, a young man that's 12, 13, 14, and testosterone starts kicking in, there needs to be a man in the house.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that man needs to be leading by example. And if he's led by example from the time that child was young, then those testosterone years, when that young man's learning to deal with that, is manageable. If not, then the kid goes out on his own and figures it out. And the streets will always raise you when your mom or your dad doesn't. But they don't raise you the right way.
That's right.
Yep, that's right.
So we have to have fathers. And what you all do by being the fathers to the fatherless, you are making a remarkable difference. You're sowing seeds and you're seeing results. And there's some seeds you sow, you think, well, that didn't work. Well, it didn't work today.
Yep.
But you'll be surprised how you hear back in the future years that, hey, I heard you. I didn't pay attention for a few years, but I heard you. And I'm back and I want to thank you.
Yep.
And you'll get those things until the day you die.
It's such an encouragement, because I think sometimes we can feel like we're not seeing enough, but I know God is taking those seeds and He's growing them. So I appreciate that encouragement. So what do you believe is the reason that so many fathers are not in the home or walking away? What do you see as being one of the main reasons?
Well, the main reason is they're sorry. That's their main reason. They want to run, be wild, have no responsibility. They don't want to work. They don't, there's a group of folks that want to have as many children as they can by as many women as they can, because they think that is machoism. No, that's weakness.
Sure.
That shows just how sorry you are. Good men take care of their children, period. And if you're not taking care of your children, you're not a good man.
And we know a good man is going to come with the proper solid foundation.
Absolutely.
We know that foundation comes from a relationship with Christ, and being in the Word of God. And because how the world defines success is different from how our Savior defines success. Sure. And so I think, some of you couples that may be listening or young people, you may be struggling. You may be saying, man, my marriage is not working. We're going through battles. I'm ready to give up. Well, have you put God in the center of it? Have you gone to a pastor? Have you gone to Christian counseling? Because God can fix things, but He's always knocking at the door. I mean, but you got to let Him in.
And the reality is there's going to be divorces.
Yep.
It's always best not to. It's best to work through it and work it out. But even if you're divorced, you can still be a good father.
Absolutely.
And a good dad.
There are some great.
And you can feel even a greater pressure to do it right if you can't be there all of the time.
Absolutely.
That means you have to work extra hard.
Yeah.
And you owe it to the child. Even if you and mom can't get along, right? You owe it to the child to give that child the best environment. And even though you may not get along with your ex-wife, the child's mom, you should never speak ill of the child's mom in the children's presence.
We see that every day.
I can't tell you how many young men that we meet with that are torn. Mom saying this, dad saying that, back and forth. It's such a mental battle for a kid that's coming to school that's dealing with that.
Well, who gets put in the middle? The child does. And the child who needs the strength and energy from everybody is all of a sudden feeling like maybe they've got to be the referee.
That's right.
Yeah.
The adult in the room. And that's just, I don't know how else to express it, but I can tell you this. With God in the center of your life, the chances of your marriage surviving go up exponentially. And even if God's in the center of your life and for whatever reason the marriage can't work, if God's in the center of your life and God's in the center of your wife or ex-wife's life, you will put the children first and do everything you can to protect them, to raise them, to give them opportunities. Mm-hmm. And that, there's no perfect people on the earth. The only perfect person was crucified. But He left us the system, the process, the words, the understanding of how to do what's right.
Yes, sir.
And that's what it amounts to. Is doing what's right easy?
Never.
No. Never. If you're waiting, though, for the world to give you accolades or everyone to agree with you to do what's right, that doesn't happen. You got to stand up as a man, put your big boy pants on, and be a leader in the family.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Another couple of questions here. Single mamas, what advice would you give to them that are where there is no man in the home? They're maybe working 2-3 jobs, doing everything they can. What advice would you give them in raising kids if dad's not around? And then what's your advice on social media to moms and with the issues you see with that in our communities today?
First and foremost, my heart goes out to single moms that I see working 2 and 3 jobs to take care of the child because dad's absentee for whatever reason. My prayers are with them. Most moms are trying and trying and trying. You've got to engage your children. Mm-hmm. You've got to get them involved in boys club, girls club, t-ball. And you go, but I don't have time. I will promise you, there's a man in the neighborhood with children your age, your children's age, that'll help you get them back and forth. You have got to infuse opportunities for your children, especially when you're not there. There's all kinds of social help. The churches will reach out to you. It takes work, moms, to do that. Mm-hmm. But the reality is it pays benefits later on, and you'd be surprised how many people that are willing to help. But if you tell them to come home and let that social media be their influence, it won't be good.
Yep, absolutely.
That's good. So what do you see as the most vulnerable population of our youth here?
I see all of them as vulnerable because cell phones and social media do a lot of good. But cell phones and social media are an adult tool in a child's hand if you don't appropriately manage it. And you can manage it because there's apps out there where if you give your child a cell phone, and there's a lot of good reasons for them to have that, especially if you're working, as long as your app monitors what they're doing, as long as you lock them out. Now, that doesn't lock them out of the neighbors, but I can tell you that if the kids get to messing around, it'll show up on that cell phone where you can see it. So there is good reason for managed social media and managed, and I underscore managed, cell phone use. There's a good reason. But if you don't use it the right way, it's putting a dangerous tool in a child's hand.
Exposing them to the world and exposing the world to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's scary. So you know our heart is to charge after the fatherless, to step in the gap where there's not a father. We talked about, you know, some of the effects of there not being the cornerstone in the house and why, you know, that happens. But in 5 to 10 years from now, if we as a community, and that's churches, businesses, you know, any kind of people stepping into those roles and stepping in the gap, where do you see the community and society being in 5, 10 years from now?
If you look back historically, as the nuclear family has deteriorated and drug abuse has gone up, the social stability of our nation has weakened. Now, I go back to some of the communists of long ago. To take the United States, we can do it without firing a shot. We just have to attack generationally the kids.
That's right.
And there's lots of quotes about that. But the strength of our nation is the strength of our belief in God. The strength of our family is the strength of our belief in God.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
The strength of the family is a strength and our belief in God. And that makes all the difference in the world. And we've got to have that, or we're going to deteriorate as a nation.
Wow.
I look around today, and anytime I see drug abuse, I see violence, I see guns, and I see kids, that's a bad recipe.
Yep.
And then you go back and you find out, well, where's his dad? I just had a press conference. One of their fathers is in prison today. And he's out running and gunning and now charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's why it's so important. And we can't just say, well, that man's not taking care of his kid. We've got to step in.
That's right.
And that's what y'all are doing. When you take a kid fishing and he looks you in the eye at 14 years old and said, I've never been fishing before. I've never ridden on a boat before. I mean, we've got 550 lakes in this county, and this child has never been on a boat and never been fishing or never been tubing, you know, and there are children that have never had any of those opportunities. But y'all represent seeds of hope and seeds of life. And that's what I see in this community is work that you all are doing and other groups are doing. That is exciting, and it fills my soul because we don't get to measure all the people you save because we don't see them.
Sure.
We can measure the failures because they come into our system, but we don't see the thousands and thousands and thousands of children that are saved by your ministry and other ministries because they do the right thing.
Well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for listening. And you can see the answer to everything we just talked about that fixes this is belief in God.
That's exactly
Living for God, having God as your foundation. It's going to take care of your problems. Still, mistakes will happen in life. Nobody's perfect. There was only one perfect man named Jesus. But I tell you, a foundation in Jesus will change everything. Last thing, just for some fun, I saw Jeepin' for Judd came out with this bobblehead this year. And I see an alligator.
Oh, yes.
There is an alligator. And have you been alligator hunting?
I have been alligator hunting. I have alligator boots.
Well, let's go.
Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. So
You got to be careful because alligators will bite you.
They will.
They do. But yeah, we'll have to. Have you been hog hunting lately?
I haven't been lately, but I've been hog hunting.
Good deal.
I hunt. I fish a little, but my big hobby is landscape and wildlife photography.
There you go.
And you know why I got into that? with a camera, you can hunt year round.
There you go. It
That's
is year
exactly
round.
right.
And
Some
it's
people
really
in
a lot
Polk
of
County
fun.
hunt year round. They're not supposed to.
Yeah,
You used to catch those.
we have a few of those.
You'll
Those are
catch
called,
those.
those are called poachers.
Right. Yeah, we
that's
get
exactly
those.
right.
So maybe our next video will be with a sheriff out in the wilderness.
Oh,
Maybe
Some
snagging
boys.
a gator,
Yeah, awesome.
doing some hog hunting with some kids.
Yeah.
Gator season
Maybe
opens
fun.
up August 1st.
Get on a swamp buggy.
I would love to do that. My heart and soul and where I feel closest to God is when I'm in the woods
Absolutely.
or on the water.
Yep.
I can feel the energy.
Yep.
And as a close, I want to share with you that I have a quote that I use daily at the sheriff's office. Good things don't just happen. Good people make good things happen.
That's good.
And y'all are good men making good things happen. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you
We're
for what you
grateful
do.
for
We're
you.
grateful
Thank
for
you
you.
for taking time.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you,
Take
brother.
care.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
All right.